Hey everyone, thank you for watching today's video. I am so excited to do. I am showing you my eyeshadow palette collection, and it is finally time to do my declutter. We've been a little bit delayed on doing this declutter, but obviously it is going to be a big one. I believe I have over 100 eyeshadow palettes here, so we need to get decluttering. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, welcome. So I do apologize for my delay in having my eyeshadow palette declutter up. Typically, I do my full declutter series in the month of December. I unfortunately fell a little bit ill at the end of the year. We also had a death in the family. A lot that I was dealing with at the end of December, including just holiday time in general, end of year sales for my brand and that sort of thing. And I took some time off in January, but I did want to come back, of course, to do my eyeshadow palette declutter. This is usually a pretty big one. I was trying to count my eyeshadow palettes as I was setting them up, but I believe I have over 100 here. Now, I did set my palettes aside at the end of December getting ready to do this, and there's been a few times I've just kind of reached into the boxes and grabbed those, but I basically just kept what I had in the boxes because, you know, if I have newer products, I am going to be keeping them because I'm still reviewing them and still trying them out. So since we're in February, you might see some palettes, you know, like the new collection from Odin's Eye, the new Glam Light, some new ColourPop ones. Those are not going to be in this declutter because I want this to be focused on what I'm actually, you know, kicking out of my collection. We obviously have a lot of palettes to get through. I'm going to try to get through this one as quickly as I can, but if you caught the declutters in December, I was pretty savage. It is my goal for 2023 to really cut down my collection, to not try as much, to not keep as much, and that sort of thing. So I'm looking over this collection and I feel like we're about to be pretty ruthless in here. All right, let's see how I do. Let's go. All right, I don't think I'm gonna do this in any particular order. I just kind of have them all laid out here and we're just going to jump in and see what we can do. All right, so starting up, I do have a favorite palette of mine. This is the Not a Box of Chocolates from ColourPop. This came out near the end of 2022, I believe it was. I love it. I have taken this traveling so much. I wear it so often. I just constantly go back into it. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I hope that you will subscribe and stick around. But I do typically lean towards more neutral looks. I love a good brown smoky eye. I really do like a lot from ColourPop. I do have an affiliate code with them, which is marchbeauty. But the Not a Box of Chocolates, definitely a favorite. Have to be keeping that one. I'm gonna stick with a few more from ColourPop. I just went and grabbed these just because I thought that would be something fun to do. So next up we have the Rudolph palette. I believe this came out, ooh, was this holiday 2021? I feel like I've had it for a minute. It's a pretty palette. It's a pretty holiday palette. I like the colors in here, but it's nothing that really stands out to me a ton. So I'm gonna declutter this one. Because I am an affiliate with ColourPop, I am on their PR list, so I do get quite a bit from them. I am, again, 2023, I'm trying not to use as much and keep as much. I will have a new PR haul coming, and I do giveaways every single week when I do my PR hauls here on my Instagram, which is marchbeauty, and also on my TikTok, which is by Samantha March. So you always have 3 chances to win some of the PR that I just cannot get to, but that's why you're seeing a lot of ColourPop in here. This next one is the Avatar palette. Again, because ColourPop releases so much, it's like, unless something really grabs me and I really love it, like the Not a Box of Chocolates, I don't want to keep it around in my collection. I'm not familiar with Avatar color scheme, you know, it's like just okay, but I know someone else can get a lot better use out of it. Okay, this one is a favorite of mine. Oh, I've had this for a while, but this is the Going Coconuts. Oh, okay, because I have Going, here we go, okay, it took us about 5 minutes for me to be making some tough decisions. I also have That's Taupe. I love both of these. I love the cool tones. Oh shoot, oh shoot. Okay, this is gonna be a little bit harder than I thought because I'm like, do I have to keep them both? Help. Okay, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put them in my keep pile for right now, and then I can always come back to it. We just started. I wanna see how I do and how many more cool tone palettes that I'm going to be keeping, and then I can decide. But honestly, I feel like it's really hard to choose between these two. So I'm gonna put them in the keep, but kind of like off to the side, so I know that I might have to come back to that one. And then next up we have the Star Wars palette. I'm not a big Star Wars gal. Heather and Angie on our cruise that we went on, they made sure to tell our dinner table with, you know, 4 other people of how I called him Lucas Skywalker in one of my videos, because a couple of the guys were like really big Star Wars fans. Continued to get brought up all of the nights, which I just loved that for me. Fun color story in here, but again, someone else can get more use out of it. I am going to declutter that one. But then we do have the Mandalorian palette. So even though I might not be familiar, but I have been seeing previews for, I think there's like a new one with this Baby Yoda coming out. And I don't know, y'all, it looks, I just don't really understand the concept. I mean, I haven't seen it. It's just hard for me to grasp what's going on there. But also, if you don't know, when ColourPop sent out this PR package, they included a little stuffed Baby Yoda, and it is my dog's best friend. Every time I make the bed, that goes in between the pillows. She brings it to bed if it's not in there. It traveled with us from Iowa to Las Vegas in her kennel with her. So I feel like I have to keep the Mandalorian palette. Not only do I love it, I do love me some greens and some golds. It's just a fun and cute palette, and Aries would be so mad if I decluttered that one. Next up we have By the Rosé. This is a pretty palette. You know, I like pinks and all of that, but again, it's not one of those that jumps out to me. So going to declutter that one. Another one with really good memories. This is the Smoke Show palette. I believe it now has been renamed to Blowin Smoke, if it is even still available. I will try to link as many palettes as I can in the description box if you're interested, but obviously we have quite a few. There's probably some that are no longer in stock, but this is a very different and more of a unique palette for my personal collection and what I keep. But I do love me just this cool tone, like dark silver bluish type of eye look. I wore this palette to the American Influencer Awards in 2019 when I won for Skincare Influencer of the Year. I did my own makeup and I used this ColourPop palette. I don't have a lot like this in my collection, so I am going to keep that one. Next up, we have the Winnie the Pooh palette. This one, it's cute. It's cute. I liked other products from the collection more. It's fun, but someone else can get so much more use out of this one. So I'm going to pass that one along. And then 2 more that I have in this little ColourPop section right here. I'm sure that we'll have more coming up. This is Lil Ray of Sunshine. Okay. If you've been with me for a minute, you know that this palette also does have a little bit of significance. I fell in love with our sunflowers back in Iowa when we had a garden. We had these beautiful sunflowers, and then a derecho came through and like flattened everything and stole my sunflowers, and it was so sad. And when I moved to Las Vegas, we have a little garden here for the residents at my complex. And I was walking by one day and there was 2 sunflowers, Lucy and Kevin. And I just felt like it was a sign I was in the right place. So this palette came out shortly after the derecho, and I just thought it was so fun and so sweet. And it's an all matte palette. I love that yellow in there. My first thought was definitely that I was going to keep it, because if you can't tell, I am really big on memories and, you know, different, either it be makeup products or perfumes or even clothes, whatever it may be that ties in with certain memories is really special to me. I actually think I'm going to declutter this one and be okay to move on from that. Whew. And if you've been with me, you might not be surprised that it sounds like I am choking up, but I'm ready to let that one go. And then we have the Wild Child palette. I love this one from ColourPop. These deep browns in here, these sparkly shades. This is another one I was thinking when I was pulling all of the palettes out, like compared to Not a Box of Chocolates, I feel like it's kind of similar. So my initial thought was I was going to keep this one, but let me compare the 2. Okay, so Not a Box of Chocolates is a little bit bigger, but I feel like no. Now, once I'm comparing them, they're not exactly the same, but I think that they're similar enough that I don't need to keep both. So I'm going to keep Not a Box of Chocolates. I'm going to declutter Wild Child. Wow, I did not think I was going to be decluttering Wild Child in this video. Huh. All right, just kind of grabbing randomly from my pile once again from Urban Decay. This is the Wild Greens. This is a pretty eyeshadow palette, and it's one that's very easy to use. It's easy to blend, all of those good things, but it just wasn't really a standout palette for me. So I'm gonna be fine to declutter this one. I have a favorite from Urban Decay that I know I will be keeping. I'm looking over my palettes. There it is. That is the Naked Reloaded. I have had this palette for quite some time, but I love it. Still continue to reach for it, and I just think that it's great. I really like this formula. Out of all of the Urban Decay palettes that I've tried, this one is the one that I've just, I was gonna say kept keeping. I don't really know if that's a sentence, but even like the Naked Cherry and the Naked Violet and all of those, like I ended up getting rid of those in my last declutter, but this one just continues to stick around. Love me a good neutral palette, so I'm gonna keep that one. Also from Urban Decay, I do have the She-Hulk palette. I did mention this in, was it my worst makeup of 2023, or it was in my ranking palettes. I did ranking all of the palettes that I tried in 2022, and this is the one that I put at the bottom. I'm so sad. One of the shades did come broken, but just the color scheme, the formula of this one, I just was really not very impressed. So I'm gonna declutter this, and I don't know who She-Hulk is. So there's that. I have this one here from Rare Beauty. This is the True to Myself palette. You know, it's fun. I purchased this one myself because I was curious to try the eyeshadows, and I think that it's a fine eyeshadow palette, but again, I want to keep the ones that I am really, really drawn to, the ones that I'm just going to keep reaching for over and over again, and really love to, you know, see my collection get decluttered down. So I think someone else could get a lot of use out of that one, so I am going to declutter it. I have one here from Essence. This is their Aroma palette. I really did enjoy these travel palettes from Essence. I was very impressed with them since I haven't tried a lot of Essence eyeshadows in the past, and especially at the price point, I think these were like $10. I was very surprised and impressed with these. I did receive these in PR from Essence, but when I tried them, I was not mad about it. But again, I still think that I'm gonna have my favorites, like my tippy top favorites that I'm gonna be keeping from this declutter. So I am going to say goodbye to that one. I have some here from Kaleidos. I think this is the 3 that I have in my collection. Let me open these up and see which ones I want to keep. All right, so the purple quad is Glowing Iris, and then these two don't have names on them, but I believe it's Black Jasmine and Cold Brew. I think I'm saying that correctly. I really like the Kaleidos eyeshadow formula, and I do enjoy these little quads. I think that they are so good. Obviously, what I'm going to be keeping tippy top favorites of is the shadows and the colors that I go back to and that I use the most. While purple is one of them, I feel like there's going to be other purple palettes that I keep, and even though this one is so beautiful, I do think that I can say goodbye to Glowing Iris, but I do not want to get rid of either of these. Again, this is like a very, you know, a quad version of the ColourPop Blowin Smoke. And then I just love this quad right here, the Cold Brew from Kaleidos. If it's still available and you love a brown smoky eye, that is going to be a great go-to for you. And I do not want to get rid of these. I love the packaging on them with the lace details here. I think that these are beautiful. So I do want to keep both of those. I have some 9 pans here from Huda Beauty. One is the gold palette, and we do also have the Wild Jaguar. Both of these are fine, but I am gravitating more towards the larger Huda Beauty palettes, which is funny because when she first was releasing her palettes, I loved the 9 pans. Didn't so much like the larger palettes. Now I like the larger palettes and not so much the 9 pans. Both of these I think are good palettes. I think that they're good quality, but they're not going to be one of those tippy top favorites of mine, so I'm going to declutter both. I have one here from Juvia's Place, and this is the Violets. This is a really stunning purple palette. Again, if you love purple shadows, this monochromatic palette is going to be a great one for you. The shadows are super soft. They're very easy to work with, but it's not going to be a tippy top fave. Oh no, are we going to start picking up phrases that we can play with our drinking game, even though we are drinking water? I suggest maybe putting some fruit in it, maybe some lemon, maybe an orange, a cucumber, a strawberry, whatever it is that you want. But I am going to declutter that one. I see 2 here from Lawless Beauty. We have the baby one and the glam one. I really do like the Lawless eyeshadows. I have some other ones. I know I have a larger one. I believe I have their holiday collection as well that I am seeing here. I don't feel like I need to keep both. I'm gonna keep the glam one. Yep, I'm gonna keep the glam one, and I am going to declutter the baby one. Oh, that was hard. That was hard. Okay, so this one here is the winter one. So they came out with this in their holiday collection this year, and I thought this was super fun. I liked that there was the blues and the greens in here, but also some of the neutrals. But we also have the larger, the one. So this was the original eyeshadow palette that Lawless came out with, and I was so impressed with it. I know, oh, okay. I'm like, I can either keep a few of the minis or keep, you know, no, I still want to keep this one. I still reach into it. I still really enjoy it. I like the big mirror. I can't get rid of this one yet. I can't get rid of that one, but I think I will declutter the winter one. I still like it. I still like the color scheme, but I think I'll be reaching for the other two that I'm keeping more from Lawless. So, okay. That was a tough one. Another palette from Essence. This one is the London palette. This blue in here is absolutely so stunning. But again, like the quality on these, I just don't think I'm going to be reaching for them as much as I do from, you know, some of the palettes from my favorite brands, my favorite eyeshadow formulas. So I am going to declutter that one. All right, speaking of favorite brands, oh dear, oh dear. Let's go through my Natasha Denona minis. Now, I love Natasha Denona. Her minis were my original love. I just finally said goodbye to my mini nude. It was broken. It was shattering everywhere. It was a mess. It was a mess. But I also still love her larger eyeshadow palettes, which I have quite a few of. So I'm really thinking that I need to cut down my minis. So this one here is the Mini Retro palette. I just didn't love this one as much as I was hoping that I was going to. You can see that it really doesn't look very used. I felt like the mats were just a little bit harder pressed. They weren't as easy to work with. I think I'm going to declutter this one. This is hard for me because I feel like I've been in the mindset for so many years. You know, I've been doing beauty YouTube since 2016, and I've had a mindset for so long of keeping things just for videos, keeping things for collections, keeping things for swatches. And I just don't want that anymore. I just don't want huge collections of makeup. I don't want makeup that I'm not using and it's just sitting there and collecting dust. So this is going to be a hard moment for me to say goodbye to some, even though I would like to keep them. But Mini Retro, I don't use as much. I actually just spotted another one as well that I forgot to grab out. And this one here is the Mini Love. Okay, I love the Large Love palette. So I'm going to keep that one. Even though I do love minis, I still love the smaller palettes. I just don't feel like I need to keep so much. Oh my gosh, okay. Okay, there goes the Mini Love. Okay, one I am gonna keep, yes. I am gonna keep the Mini Glam palette. Love me some nice cool tones. This one I think is really beautiful. When the Mini Nude was kind of going through a difficult time, I was really leaning on the Mini Glam, kind of like my therapist right here. So we do like to keep a therapist on speed dial, so we're gonna keep that one. This one here is the Mini Bronze. Again, I have the larger bronze palette and I love it. Ugh. Am I going to declutter the majority of my Natasha minis? Okay. Okay, here we go. And then we have the Mini Biba palette. This is another one that I liked it. I think I thought I was going to like it more. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna declutter this one also. Oh my gosh, this is kind of blowing my mind. This is kind of blowing my mind right now. I can't believe this. Okay, we have two left. All right, we have the Mini Gold on top and then the Mini Metropolis. Now, I do not own the Metropolis palette. I do own the larger gold palette, but I'm gonna keep both of these. I do love me the greens. I love the green and gold in here. I think that this one is very pretty. Then the Mini Metropolis. I like these. These are, I feel good to keep, oh my gosh, out of my minis. This is what I kept. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna give myself a break before I go into the larger Natasha Denona palettes. Let's just take a moment. Let's collect ourselves. Let's think about, I'm literally wiping sweat off of my forehead. Okay, good. I see a few here from e.l.f. Let's jump into those. So quite a few minis here from e.l.f. Some we have from the Dunkin' Donut collection. One that I really did like was this one here. The, what is this? Cream and sugar. Yes, cream and sugar. Because it did remind me of the Natasha Denona Mini Nude. It's kind of like why I bought it, to see, because it was like $5. I was like, is it a dupe? But you know, e.l.f. just doesn't have my absolute favorite eyeshadow formula. The ones from Dunkin' just did not impress me. So we have, what, 6 here. I'm going to declutter all of those. They're in fine shape. I can definitely still pass them on to someone, but I just do not reach for those. There's a collaboration with Jen Atkin. This was the Let's Elfing Do This palette, so you do have some face shades in here as well. It's a pretty palette, and I got some good use out of it, but it's not one that I really reach for all that often. So I am also going to put that one in the declutter pile. Okay, jumping over to Patrick Ta, I have the Major Dimension and Major Dimension 2 palettes. I did purchase both of these myself, and I really enjoy them. I liked the Major Dimension so much that I ended up buying the Major Dimension 2, which this one does have more of like the pink and the mauve tones, which I love, but the mattes in here are such good quality. It has the 2 cream shadows, which I really enjoy. The sparkles. The shimmers are super easy to use, like the packaging on these, so I am gonna keep both of them. And then I do have a stack of palettes here that I put together. These are collab palettes with my friends. So I do want to be keeping these eyeshadow palettes. So we have from Sydney Grace and Mel Thompson. This one is the Tiny Marvels palette, you know, absolutely beautiful. Definitely keeping this in memory of Mel. And then we have Heather Austin and Adept Cosmetics. I actually have a video coming up where I'm going to be using this palette, which I am so excited about, but definitely keeping this one in collaboration with Heather. I have 2 here from my girl Angelica Nyquist. We have the Club Nebula with Kaleidos. I am very sad because a couple of the shadows broke. It was such a sad day, but this palette was limited edition. But of course, I am going to be keeping that one. And then we also have her Hella palette with Odin's Eye. This packaging is still just like so sick. I love it. And then the inside, super beautiful, of course. And then also with Odin's Eye, this is the palette with Annette or Annette's Makeup Corner. And here is the inside of this one. So obviously super proud of all of my friends when they have their collaborations. Gotta be keeping me all of those. Another one from Sydney Grace. This is the Be Mine palette. This is really beautiful. Just not gonna be one of those in my top category. So I can pass this along to someone else. Some older palettes in my collection. This is the Dose of Colors Desi and Katie Friendcation palette. Okay, when I was pulling this one from the box to put it out, I was like, oh no, I'm definitely keeping that one. And then I was like, well, do I have to? See, it's limited edition, which, you know, so it's not available anymore. This came out years ago. So I'm like, well, I can't get it. If I do decide to declutter it, I can't get it again. I still follow Desi. I still follow Katie. I don't think either of them really does beauty YouTube anymore, but I still like to keep up with them. But I think I'm going to declutter it. Okay, I think I'm gonna do it. I think I've kept a really decent amount. Like, I would be absolutely fine if I kept like the first 5 eyeshadow palettes that I just said I was keeping in this video, right? Like, my life would continue to go on. But I'm decluttering. I'm not gonna talk myself out of it. All right, next up, this is the Tati Beauty Volume 1 palette. I feel like this one is such a hard one to decide as well because Tati Beauty is no more. We only have the Volume 1. I had people, what was it? What was one of the videos I talked about this in? I can't remember, but someone commented and was like, you could get a lot of money selling that eyeshadow palette, but I just don't want to. I still would like to keep this one around. I still would like to. Fond memories attached to this one as well. Tati did send this one over to me. She was very helpful to me at a very strange time in my life, which I will forever be grateful for. And I want to keep that one. So I'm going to. This next one here is the Urban Decay Naked Sin palette, and it's like the mini palette. This palette totally caught me off guard because I remember the first time I opened it and I was like, that is so boring. Who needs it? And then I wore this palette all of the time. It was so funny. I was just constantly reaching for it. But so my first thought again was I'm definitely going to keep it. But I'm looking at the collection that I have decided to keep. I do like that it's minis. I do like that it's small. I do like that it's so basic that I can just like get away with it. But I'm thinking of the ColourPop Not a Box of Chocolates. I'm thinking of like my minis from Natasha Denona that I kept. I think that I can get rid of it. I feel like I have a lot of friends who would so gladly take this one off my hands. But man, did I enjoy it. See, even with my declutters, to me, there's a difference between like, oh, I really like that one, or I think that it's a really good palette. There's palettes that I'm decluttering that I think are really good. There's bronzers and blushes and lip products that I decluttered that I still think are really good. I simply just don't need it all, nor do I have the desire to want to keep everything. So sometimes I get in my head because I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna declutter something that I spoke highly about, but I can still speak highly about something and not want to keep 500 eyeshadow palettes. You know what I'm saying? So that's where we're at. I have a few more here from ColourPop. So we have a quad. This is in a waffle cone, which I think is so beautiful. And then we do have some of these 9-pan palettes. We have What the Shell and Shell Shock. Honestly, I like all of these, waffle cone probably being my favorite, but like I've kept the greens. These color stories, they're pretty, but just I don't feel like I have to keep them. So I am gonna declutter those. I do have a quad here from Rowan, and this is the Eyes on Me quad. So sad about this. So beyond sad. I think it was when I was filming my ranking all of the palettes I tried in 2022 that I dropped this one, and I was devastated because that shade is absolutely stunning. Honestly, you know, I was thinking I was going to keep this one, but like that shade was everything. Every time I went into this quad, I reached for that one. And these other three are beautiful and they're stunning and I can create nice looks with it, but that was the showstopper. That was the one. Oh man, I thought I was gonna keep it, but I am gonna declutter it. Man, that's sad. That's sad. Oh, now I just bummed myself out. Let's jump over into some Anastasia palettes. Now, in my last eyeshadow palette declutter, I was pretty ruthless when it came to the Anastasia. I had a lot more palettes. I decluttered the Mod Ren, I decluttered the Norvina, and these were the ones that stayed, but besides the Nouveau palette, because that one is new. So one thing, I know that I can declutter the Amrezy. I actually tried this pretty late, like it had been out for years, and I did have a subscriber send it over to me, which was super sweet, and I was able to try it out. I did some fun looks with it, but it just didn't blow me away. And maybe if I'd gotten it when it was new, I would have like better vibes with it. But you know, I'm just like, all right, I can declutter that one. Then we have the Soft Glam and the Sultry. These two are my top 2 palettes from Anastasia. I continue to go into the Sultry. I think that it's so beautiful. The Soft Glam, this is one that I kind of gave a second glance at and was like, do I still need the Soft Glam palette? And again, the Nouveau palette is so pretty. I like the color scheme. I like that it's neutral, but we also have like some greens and some grungy tones in here. Okay, I know for sure Sultry is not going anywhere. No, not at all. But the Soft Glam, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm like thinking I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna declutter it. If y'all can't tell that I'm serious, if you can't tell that I am serious about cutting down my makeup collection, I am serious. Oh, I'm sweating again. And then the Nouveau palette, I would like to keep this one around. I was really impressed. I was not thinking I was gonna be all that impressed with this palette. I was very surprised. So maybe if I didn't have this one, maybe I would keep the Soft Glam. But also, you know, like Soft Glam, she had her moments. Like, we went through a lot together, me and Soft Glam. I'm just kidding, it's okay. I'm gonna move on. Okay, how cute is this little Stella Rosa palette? Take the Magic. This was with Hip Dot, a collaboration with Hip Dot. I don't know what I was doing in my life that I feel like I completely missed this Hip Dot and Stella Rosa collection. I had a subscriber send this over to me. Stella Rosa is my favorite wine. If you like drinking wine because you feel classy when you do it, but you don't actually love the taste of wine, try Stella Rosa. Because it's kind of more like juice and it's also low alcohol. So if you also don't like to drink a lot like me, then try a low alcohol wine like Stella Rosa. Somehow it must have been when my life was in turmoil because I completely missed this collection. So I was so grateful to have this little palette sent over to me, but I think it has the good memories. I like the good vibes with the palette, but I've had it for a couple years now and I think that I can go ahead and declutter it. Another one that I have from Dose of Colors, this is the Golden Hour palette. So I loved the Dose of Colors 5-pan palettes. They were some of my first like favorite smaller monochromatic palettes that I owned back in the day. So when they were revamping them, I was very excited about it and I had to buy Golden Hour. I just don't reach for it very often and I'm so sad about that. It's so pretty, it's neutral. This one is more of a pressed glitter, which I just don't really wear all that often, but I just really don't reach for it. So I'm gonna declutter that one. Dang it. And then a couple here from Glamlight. One is the Dirty Martini palette. This palette, I mean, If you've been around my channel for a bit, I loved this palette. I was going into it so much. Again, I love greens. Like I said, I do love me some neutral looks and some brown smoky eyes, but then greens is right up there. And I think that this one is so stunning. Love the quality. Definitely keeping that one. And then I do have the collaboration with Michaela. Now, I wasn't able, I bought this myself and I was trying to buy the smaller version and it sold out before I could. So this is like the 30 pan palette and it's too large for me. I did a palette bingo for one of my members exclusive videos and I like it still. I like the quality, but it's so large of an eyeshadow palette that I just know that I'm really not going to be reaching into this all that often. So I am going to declutter that one as well. A couple more that I have from Odin's Eye. One was part of their holiday collection, and this is the Merry Christmas palette. Stunning palette, like just the color story. So Odin's Eye just continues to impress me. Their new collection that they did with Lauren and Amanda and Betty Jean is just absolutely beautiful. I have lots of looks with that on my channel, and this one is gorgeous. I don't want to get rid of this one yet. I feel like it's such a unique color story. Really enjoy the quality, so I'm going to continue to hold on to that one. And then we have the Solmani 2, and this palette was not one that I expected to love, okay? I feel like if there's any brand that can get me into color, it is Odin's Eye. Just the way that they put their palettes together, the color stories in here. I mean, I was so impressed with this palette. I took it with me on my New York City trip that I went to, what was it, like last May? And I never bring like a colorful palette like this. I bring really small, like all-in-one neutral palettes, and I was like, I'm bringing this one. So I still want to keep that. If you haven't checked out Odin's Eye yet, definitely would. Oh, I do have an affiliate code with them as well, which is just Samantha. And then I have a few here from Huda Beauty. So these are her larger palettes. We have the Rose Quartz, the Empowered, and the new Nude. So the Empowered palette I have just been loving, and I really wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. And man, do I reach in for this one a lot. Beautiful matte. These shimmers, I mean, obviously you can tell that I love them so much. We have some cream shadows, which I love, like this black cream shadow I use for a liner. It's just a stunning eyeshadow palette, so that one I am definitely keeping. But I'm looking at Rose Quartz and I'm looking at New Nude, and I'm like, do I need to keep them both, or do I need to keep either of them? Like I said, I enjoy the larger eyeshadow palettes from Huda Beauty, but honestly, the Empowered just impresses me so much. I just want to keep that one. Yeah, I'm going to declutter both of these. Enjoy them. I think that they're nice eyeshadow palettes, but I think that I'm doing a very swell job on this declutter, and I want to keep it up. Okay, all right, okay. So next up I have this one from Hindash, and this is the Monochromance palette. Now this palette I find so interesting because you can use this as contour shades, bronzers, blushes. This is a very beautiful blush shade. You can use it for eyeshadows. I really like the concept behind this palette, but I just don't reach for it all that often. I did experience some hard pan on a few shadows as well, which just made it a little bit difficult to go into. And this is one of those that, like, I want to love it even more. And again, I think that it's a good palette. I think that it's good quality. I just don't tend to reach for it all that often. So I'm gonna put that one in my pass pile. All right, let's jump into some Pat McGrath. So Pat McGrath does not have my absolute favorite eyeshadow formula, which I've been raked over the coals about online. But you know, I buy her palettes and I try to love them and make them work. And this one here is the Mothership, I don't know, that's what it says. What is this? Rose Decadence. This one is the Rose Decadence. You know, it's a 6 pan. I don't know, the package is a little bit more bulky. Like, they're pretty shades, but it just doesn't, like, stir my makeup loins. So I'm gonna put that one in the pass pile. And then I do have the Bridgerton collection. Now, I love Bridgerton. I don't watch any shows. I don't watch any movies. But Reggae Jean Page got me through my divorce, okay? Like, I relied heavily on Bridgerton to get me through those dark, dark times. Unfortunately for me, I do tend to have quite a few reactions to Pat McGrath eyeshadows. Now, it's not just Pat McGrath. There's other brands and there's other palettes that do it to me, but a lot of times these, like, reds, pinks, sometimes purples, cause me a pretty bad reaction. But Pat McGrath seems to be one of the worst culprits for me. So while this palette is pretty, like, this blue shimmer is absolutely so stunning. I bought this myself. I wanted to love it, especially because of the collaboration, like the bees on here, like, but I just, it's almost an unusable palette for me because of the reaction that it gives my eyes. So I am going to declutter it. Again, a terrible, terrible eye reaction to this is the Midnight Voyage, and I was so curious to try. It was just this mini little chicken nugget eyeshadow palette, and I like me some purples, but my eyes were like practically bleeding by the end of the day of wearing this palette. So I'm going to declutter that one. Now, this was one of the first from Pat McGrath. I don't think it was my first palette. I think my first one was like a small holiday collection that came in like clear packaging and was considerably cheaper. This is one, I had a Sephora gift card, so I finally bit the bullet and bought this is the Mothership Divine Rose, I believe is this one. And it's, you know, it was $129 for this palette. I think I'm still gonna keep this one. And I'm kind of fighting with myself because I'm like, I don't really reach for it all that often. Even some of the shades that people are like, these are special shades. I'm like, I don't know. They all just seem like eyeshadows to me. This Dusty Mauve is very, very beautiful. It's super easy for me to do a look, literally just with that shadow and that shadow. It's super pretty. It's very easy to do. But I feel like I still want to keep around just one Pat McGrath in my collection, and I've decluttered all the other ones. I decluttered the 3 that I had left out of this collection, so I'm going to keep that one. I think I will feel good. I think that I would feel sad if I decluttered all of them, and I might regret it, and I don't want to have regrets. Okay, no regrets. This one here is from Dominique Cosmetics. This is the Sweater Weather palette. This is very pretty. It didn't necessarily blow me away. I liked the Dominique Cosmetics eyeshadow formula, but not enough to keep because I had like, was it like berries and cream and like a latte one? It was like coffee themed. I liked those, but they haven't stuck around in my declutters. So, you know, just not a favorite formula of mine. We have this one I bought towards the end of 2022, I believe. This is from Dior. This one is the Khaki Neutral palette. I really liked this one. I've done quite a few looks with it. Again, I love me some greens. I love that there's neutrals in here. You do also have more of like a primer, cream primer in here as well. I think that this is really pretty, and this is my only palette from Dior, so I am going to hang on to that one. All right, well, we're getting down there, and I have this one here from Charlotte Tilbury, and I just took a little bit of a break because I know that I am missing one. This one is the Pillow Talk quad, but I do also have the Green Lights quad, and I don't know where it is. Another hope of mine with just my declutter series in general and not keeping as much makeup this year is that I can stay better organized, because I lose makeup so quickly and it is really bothering me that I don't know where Green Lights is. I just went and did another sweep of my makeup closet and I'm like, I know I haven't. I know I did not declutter it because I love Green Lights. It was the original palette that got me into green eyeshadow. So I know that I own it and I would keep it regardless. So we'll just add that one to the tab. We know that we have that one somewhere, okay? But this one is the Pillow Talk, and I also still really love this quad. It's very easy to travel with. It's very easy to use. I like so many of the Charlotte Tilbury products. I still do want to keep that one around. And then I have these little trios from Kaja Beauty, and I love these. I have spoken so highly about them. I have Neutral Moment, Peach Madeline, and Mauve Bouquet. So these are just the little stacks. Like, I just enjoy the packaging on these. Obviously, Neutral Moment, so easy to use, such a favorite. Peach Madeline, so pretty. You have the 2 shimmer shades in here. Similar to that, we do have Mauve Bouquet, which this shadow did break, which is very sad. So it's just like very much pressed in there. Actually, because this one is broken, it's hard to travel with, which I do love these for travel. I'm gonna declutter Mauve Bouquet. It makes me sad because I think that it's so pretty, but then I am gonna keep Neutral Moment and Peach Madeline. And if my heat could go off, that'd be great. We are in the middle of something important. All right, so this is the last stack here from ColourPop. Let's go. We have In the Springs. This was such a fun palette. I also really like orange with green eyes. It's not my most worn shadow, but I think that it's really pretty. I liked this palette so much, but again, even though it's a good palette, I like it. I don't think that I have to keep it. Ooh, we have the Dream Street. This was the collaboration with Kathleen Lights. So I think it was like mid to late 2022, I did 5 throwback looks in one video. I used, was it either the Soft Glam or the Sultry? I used the Desi and Katie Friendcation, the Tati Beauty, but I did also use this palette, and I have to say my favorite look from all 5 of those came from this eyeshadow palette. Still think it's gorgeous to this day. Still have a lot of good memories tied to it as well. I also want to keep that one. And then we have in the Limelight. I was super disappointed that I didn't love this one. This was one of those that if I wasn't on ColourPop's PR, I was gonna buy this one myself. I love the greens. It just was just too similar of a palette. It was one of those monochromatic palettes that's like too monochromatic, and I was very disappointed that I didn't love it more. So I'm gonna declutter that one. Then we have the Secret Admirer. So this was similar to the, what was it, in the Rosé palette, where it's like, it's pretty, I like the pinks, you know, it's fun, we got some heart shapes, but like, don't need to keep it. Then we have one of their mega palettes. This is the Getting Fresh. Oh my goodness, look at all these shadows. I think there's like 30 shadows in here as well. You know, like, I get it, and I get that there's an audience for the mega palettes. It just doesn't, it's just not me, and that's totally okay. It's too big. Just a lot going on in here. I can definitely pass it on to a better home. Then we have the One and Done. I'm trying to think, I think a lot of these were in my ranking 2022 palettes, and they all just kind of came towards like the end and the middle. Like, it was like, I like them, but again, when ColourPop has palettes that really stand out to me, they like really do stand out to me, and I use them so frequently. One and Done, I made some really fun pink shades, pink looks with these shades in here, but going to declutter that one. Then we have the Clay It Cool. This one, again, pretty, okay, it's nice, it's good. Someone's gonna get a lot of use out of it, but it's not going to be me. We have another Star Wars palette. I believe this is my bestie Lucas on the front here, right? It's not Baby Yoda, so it must be Lucas. No, I can pass this on to someone else. Fun colors, you know, like the cool tones, that's neat, but adding that to my declutter pile. And then we have the OG Sweet Talk. I always like to talk about this palette to say that I was not going to buy this palette, and then I got it in PR from ColourPop. It was one of the first PR packages that I got from them, and I was like, wait, this palette is freaking stunning. And I went on to be using it all of the time. But, are you paying attention? I know this is a long video. I think I'm gonna declutter the Sweet Talk. When I was pulling it out of the box, I was like, I think I can let go of this one too. I think that there's potentially an underlying theme in this video of letting go of my past. Might be something that I've been working on in therapy. I think I can let this one go though. It's beautiful, it's stunning, but I've had it for such a long time. It's traveled with me. I've had so many good memories with it. But since I kept, especially because I did still want to keep the Dream Street, I truly think I'm okay to say goodbye to the Sweet Talk. Okay, we are entering a new era. All right, so I have some here from Auric. I wasn't gonna put these in, and then I decided to kind of last minute because I was putting in the Kaja stacks. These are the Smoke Reflex from Auric, and this is Sam Ravindell's brand. Now, I did get all of these in PR, which was like so exciting for me. I looked up to Sam so much as a business owner, as, you know, a YouTuber, an entrepreneur, and I've just been so impressed with the brand. And these Smoke Reflex are just out of this world stunning. I remember going to California with Risa in summer 2021, and she was like, don't tell me that you're wearing the Smoke Reflex from Auric, because they had sold out and she couldn't get her hands on them. And I was like, I'm sorry, I am. And they are just so stunning. They're so easy to use, and I've definitely gotten more into you know, just more like low-key makeup, like just very few shadows, not a lot of blending, not a lot of work. So these make it right up my alley, just very go-to simple makeup looks. Last two were in the holiday, and this green is absolutely sick. I like to wear them, you know, paired together. I like to mix and match between all of them, but I do want to keep all of these, so they are not going anywhere. Highly recommend. So I think we've done it. I think we are down to Sigma and Natasha Denona. I would say Sigma, Natasha Denona, and ColourPop are going to be my favorite eyeshadow formulas. I would also put Odin's Eye in there as well. So this is, okay. I'm like, I left these to the end so I could kind of get an idea of where I was at in my keep pile, but I'm sweating. This is gonna be really tough. So let's dive into Sigma Beauty. So they have some of these mini palettes that I'll jump into, and I will say that I really do prefer more of the full-size palettes, but I like that they have these options. They're not as expensive as the larger palettes, so I think it's great that we have those. Like this mini Cor de Rosa, I feel like they picked all of the best shades from Cor de Rosa and put it in this mini, which is fabulous. I just do prefer the larger version. This one was a holiday palette with them. You can see that I love this shade so much. It just kept breaking. I used it so often. It just kept breaking off. It was a stunning palette. This one is in Warm Wishes. And then we do also have the Enchanted palette. So a smaller version of the Enchanted, which I did actually declutter the Enchanted palette. But I am going to put all three of these in my pass pile because I do prefer those larger versions. So I do want to hang on to those. And then we do also have the Rosy palette. This is one that I like so much. I actually do have a favorite set with Sigma Beauty, which includes some brushes and then also the Rosy eyeshadow palette. And I just love the shades in here. I love these mauve tones. When I was putting this out, which was summer of 2021, I got a manicure that I thought was so beautiful. It had kind of like these two shadows in here and then a rose design on them because I wanted to match the Rosy palette, and I loved it so much. So obviously gonna keep this one. So many good memories with the palette. And then we have our larger ones. Oh my goodness, is this difficult. We have New Mod, Untamed, the Alice in Wonderland, Cinderella, Cor de Rosa, Warm Wishes, and Ambiance. So Ambiance is one of those palettes that I have a lot of good memories tied to. This was released right after I moved to Las Vegas. And I moved here from Iowa following my separation and then, you know, subsequent divorce. And this palette just reminds me of moving here and feeling so full of hope, obviously full of fear, but mostly full of hope of starting over and, you know, being able to create a new life for myself. I wore this palette so much, and I do tie a lot with memories, and this one has a lot of good, positive, recent memories. So have to keep the Ambiance. Oh, the warm neutrals is so beautiful. Okay. Okay, the warm neutrals. You know, I want to keep my tippy top favorites from Sigma Beauty. And I love this one. And I do enjoy this one so much, but I don't know if I would put it as a tippy top favorite. So I am going to declutter that one. And then we have the Cor de Rosa. Yes, I mean, this one is not going anywhere. Freaking love my Cor de Rosa so much. Look how beautiful. Oh my gosh. Okay, yes, obviously Cor de Rosa, she is staying. Then we have the Cinderella palette. Okay, I feel like between Cinderella and Alice in Wonderland, I don't think that I need to keep both. These are both more colorful palettes to Sigma Beauty, and not that they're, you know, exactly the same to one another, but I don't think I need to keep both of the more colorful tones. Oh gosh, which one though? Which one? Oh dear. Okay, I think I'm going to keep, out of here, I'm gonna keep the Cinderella. So on top, I really like the purples. I like that gold in there. You know, we have some of the blues as well, and then some more neutrals. So yes, I'm gonna pass along the Alice in Wonderland. I'm going to keep a Cinderella. And then obviously the New Mod, this is another one that's, I think is so stunning. It is such a me palette. I got to go to the New Mod launch party in Minnesota with Sigma Beauty, so a lot of good memories tied with this one. And people were saying I could have like collabed with Sigma on this palette because it is such a Samantha palette. Love the packaging. Definitely keeping that one. And then we have the Untamed, and I really liked the direction that Sigma took for this palette with more of these darker tones and the grunge and you know, just the green. And I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about decluttering this one, but again, I love this formula so much, and I decluttered 2 full size and all of my minis. Like, I'm keeping Untamed. Nope, I'm keeping Untamed. If it's a favorite, I'm gonna keep it. All right, and then lastly, we have the Natasha Denona pile. So speaking of, you know, letting things go, moving on from my past, I've been thinking about this one a lot, and this is my gold palette. This was such a sweet gift from a subscriber at a time that was really difficult. My ex-husband has lost his job, It was a very hard time. It was a very worrying time. We were selling our house because we were moving. There was so much going on, and I got this gifted to me, and I thought it was so sweet. I tell the story of when our house had showings, I took my computer and my dog and the Natasha Denona Gold palette with me because it was so expensive. But it's one of those that I am ready to move on from. I am ready to say goodbye to. Ooh, that's a tough one. I like this palette a lot, but there are so many other Natasha palettes that are sitting in front of me that I just enjoy so much more. Like the Glam Face and Eye palette, I do love this one. I love that we have eyeshadows in here. We have the blush, the highlight. This one is so stunning. I still continue to travel with it. So definitely have to keep that one. Also my retro palette, this is another one that I absolutely adore. These midi size palettes from Natasha I just think are fabulous. This was actually, I got to do a campaign with Natasha Denona again in 2021 was my year, okay? I got to do an Instagram post with them and I was so excited about it. Love these colors though. So beautiful. One that I did not expect to enjoy so much was the pastel palette. I kind of bought this on a whim because I'm not a big pastel girl, but I was like, yeah, you know, like I'll give it a try. I was super impressed with this, and I really don't have a lot of pastel. Like, I'm trying to think if there was like a actual pastel palette in my collection. I don't think so. So I am going to keep this one. Okay, I'm like, am I going to declutter any of my larger Natasha palettes? I mean, when I say favorite eyeshadow formula, I do mean that. The Love palette, so much fun. How many times have I said I love the Love palette? You know, I decluttered my mini. I think that this one is great. The Glam palette. So we have the Glam palette. I'm like digging through my collection, and we have, you know what? We're making an executive decision. I kept a lot from ColourPop and a lot that I like. But the Natasha, I do pick Natasha over ColourPop. I think ColourPop, you know, obviously there's a significant price difference, but I feel like Natasha is much more of a, like, I know what I'm gonna get when I purchase the palettes, whether, you know, with ColourPop, it's kind of like hit or miss. And these are, you know, fairly older in my collection. I really was going to keep them both, but you know, I have the shades in the Glam palette. Again, not like they're exact dupes or anything like that, but the vibes are gonna be close enough that I can keep this one eyeshadow palette and I can declutter these two. I feel good about that. Yep, that's the right decision. That was the right move. Okay, then we have the bronze palette. Again, I decluttered the mini because I said I liked the larger version so much. I love like the sunset eyes, the warm tones, beautiful for fall. Keeping that one. Okay, and then we have the Biba palette. This is another one that I saved up some Sephora gift cards and bought this because it was the $129. The midi palettes that I've been showing are $69, I believe is what the price, I believe it went from $65 to $69. This one was like the $130 range. I think I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna declutter it. I don't reach for this one as much as I thought that I was going to. You can see like this looks like it's in pretty good shape. This is a nice palette. It is good quality. It's a good formula. It's a good palette. I love some of my other ones so much more though. And this is the one that like when I pulled all of my Natasha palettes out, as I like pet it goodbye, I'm like, I think this is the one that I could say goodbye to. Oh. Okay, my Biba, there she goes. There she goes. And then finally we have the My Dream palette. This one I think is so stunning. I do. But I'm looking at my retro palette and even a little bit of the Love palette. Like, I don't know, what do we think? I really do. I like the Dream palette so much. I really do. These two I reach into so often and I feel like the vibes are close enough. I can't believe this. Yeah. Oh, I do. I like My Dream so much, but going back to, I can like it. It can be a good palette. I can give it high remarks. I don't need to keep them all. I really don't. I really don't need to keep them all. And honestly, if I was doing something that I really had a gut feeling like I will regret this, then I will keep them. But these Natasha palette, 5 of the midi palettes plus the Glam Face and Eye, That's great. If I just own these right here, perfection. Perfection in an eyeshadow palette collection, okay? But I kept a lot more than that. So that's the end of this brutal declutter. Let me pull everything out and we will see how I did. All right, I did my best to separate them out. So here in my keep pile, we have 49. Keeping 49 eyeshadow palettes. And then over here in my declutter pile, 67. 67 eyeshadow palettes. We are decluttering. My living room has been taken over by eyeshadow palettes, but that is it. Decluttering over half of my collection. Oh, I feel very proud of this. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. This was an eyeshadow palette declutter, but also a little bit more than that. So I hope that you enjoyed watching this. I hope if you have been trying to declutter or cut down, I hope that this gives you maybe some motivation to be able to do the same. I'm looking over everything that I kept and I see my favorite eyeshadow palettes. I see my favorite formulas. I see the palettes that I reach for so much. I see the collabs with my friends and the makeup that holds special memories to me. And I am super happy. I look over these 49 palettes and all of them I feel good about keeping. And I look over at these 67 that I'm decluttering and I feel such a relief to have cut down my collection so much and trying to stay better on being more organized and being more clutter-free in 2023 and using the products and keeping the products that I love so much. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm sorry the eyeshadow palette declutter took so long to get here, but I hope that it was worth the wait. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to give this one a thumbs up. I hope you also consider subscribing before you go, and I'll see you in my next one.